That is the Australian Grand Prix for 2022, the first one in ages, done. So let's get stuck straight in to what happened in the race. It was brilliant to be back at Melbourne, 400,000 people in the crowd. I definitely missed this race so much. What a race we had. It was completely action-packed. But one weird thing coming into the race that I didn't expect is the race organisers took away a DRS zone. Now you might remember in my preview video, I did say we had 4 DRS zones. They actually took one away due to driver safety, so we're down to 3 DRS zones total now. Bit of a weird one that they did that during Saturday, but okay, we'll go with it. We'll start off with qualifying, and in Q1 we had a late red flag for an incident between Stroll and Latifi, lots of damage to the Williams, and a 3-place penalty for Stroll as he tipped Latifi into a wall. Pretty bad one. So out in Q1, as you can imagine, the 2 Williams, the 2 Astons, and Magnussen in the Haas, which was a surprise. He's been performing well, so it's sad to see him out in Q1. After Q1 had ended, we actually saw Albon stop on track, and he had a lack of fuel. He just ran out of fuel, and as a result, he was disqualified because they could not take a sample. So regardless of any penalties he had, he would be starting at the back of the grid. Q2 was much quieter. Out in Q2, we had the 2 AlphaTauri, both Alfa Romeos, and the other Haas of Mick Schumacher. This does mean that Valtteri Bottas's run of Q3s, stretching back over 100 races, is now over. He went out in Q2. But this did mean we saw both McLarens in Q3. What a result for them. What a turnaround. They keep saying they've not really done anything to the car, that the track just, matched their capabilities much better, but what a turnaround, eh? The Alpines also looked very strong. Saying that, but then Alonso caused a red flag in Q3. He had a hydraulic issue causing him to hit the wall. It's a nasty one for him as well. But at the end, Leclerc qualified on pole ahead of Verstappen and Perez. Sainz was a very disappointing 9th position after losing a good lap to the red flag. Norris was the surprise of the session, getting his McLaren into P4, huge for them, and our driver to watch, Daniel Ricciardo, got 7th in his home race. What a result for those McLarens, eh? But could they convert it in the race itself? That's the big question, because that's where the points are doled out. So let's dive into the race. We had a lot of off-track incidents this time out. I'm not sure if it's due to the new track layout, it didn't seem to be, or if it maybe was just that these cars are being pushed that much harder now, like the drivers are up to speed with how the cars handle, so they're pushing them a bit more than we've seen previously perhaps. At the start of the race we saw Sainz, Alonso, Magnussen, Vettel, Stroll and Albon all start on the hards, everyone else was on the mediums. And everyone got away very cleanly. Hamilton making a great start, getting ahead of both Norris and Perez, so he gets up to P3. Russell also took Norris at the start, so Norris had a terrible time. Somebody else who also had a terrible time at the start was Carlos Sainz. Looked like he proper bogged down, maybe he had some anti-stall. We've seen that on a few cars at the start. He dropped all the way down to 13th. Really bad for the Ferrari driver. Both AlphaTauris also pick up places at the start, so I think Hamilton and the AlphaTauris are the big winners at the start there. But more bad news for Carlos Sainz as he's off track and retires on lap 2. It looked like he just messed up his braking, went straight across the track and into the gravel and couldn't get out. He did say after the race that he'd been struggling with an issue on his steering wheel. He changed his steering wheel, but it had the same problem. Just overall a massively disappointing weekend for him for sure. This did cause a safety car, and because it's so early in the race, only on lap 2, nobody really came in. Stroll did. He took off his hard tyres and put on mediums for a bit of a strategy edge, but that was about it really. It just closed the field up. We had a really clean restart after that with no real position changes. A bit boring to be honest. Expected some fights or something. But then on lap 10, we did see Perez get past Hamilton and back up to 3rd place. Obviously, he's trying to catch up with Verstappen and Leclerc at the front of the field now. We had an interesting, I don't want to call it a fight, but an interesting idea of a fight between the Mercedes and the McLarens. Basically, both Mercedes and both McLarens were like top to tail with each other for ages, for multiple laps. And it looked like it could have been a really interesting fight, but nobody really did any moves. They were just kind of following each other around. Never really kicked off. I was really excited to see that, but yeah, nothing really happened there. It was around this time that the Red Bull really started to struggle with their tyres. We had radio communication from Verstappen, who was struggling. So he came in on lap 19 for his first stop, and he went to the hard tyres. That did drop him down to 7th, but it started the dominoes falling of other people coming in and stuff like that. But in retrospect, it might not have been the best idea to come in at that point, because we had a safety car, another safety car, on lap 24 for Vettel hitting the barriers at turn 4, and then he kind of trundled down the track a little bit. So they had to get rid of his car, they had to clean up all the debris. So safety car on lap 24, that meant that anyone who hadn't pitted after that kind of lap 19 first stop there for Verstappen meant they came in and they got a cheap stop. This included George Russell, who as a result got 3rd place because his stop was so quick. The only drivers out on track to have not stopped were Alonso, Albon and Kevin Magnussen at this point, and of course they'd all inherited very good positions for staying out. This restart was so much better than the last. Verstappen really gave it a good go. I think Leclerc had a bit of a poor restart, so Verstappen gave it everything, and they had a really good fight, but Leclerc did win out and he coasted up the road eventually as well. Over the next few laps, we saw Alonso slide back. Obviously, he's still on very old tyres, and he was in 4th position, which fair play to him. You know, he didn't pit, so he inherited it, but he did slide back because of those old tyres. We also saw Perez move up the order over the course of about 5 laps, because he was in P5, so he's obviously a bit out of position, has a lot more pace than the guys around him, so he moved up to P3. Then on lap 39, the big one happens. Verstappen retires with a power unit issue again. This causes a virtual safety car, but can you believe it? That Red Bull engine really does have some issues and is causing hell for Verstappen right now. Kevin Magnussen and Alonso pit under the virtual safety car because they hadn't yet, so they go on to fresh mediums. Albon doesn't. Curiously, like, we're coming toward the end part of the race now, and Albon still hasn't pitted and did not pit under the virtual safety car, so he's up to 7th, just inheriting loads of positions on his hard tyres. Aston Martin looked to have played a blinder on strategy with that very early stop as well, because Stroll's now up to 9th, but he goes and gets himself a 5-second penalty for weaving on the straight. Oh man. Just when it looked like Aston Martin might be able to get a point, their driver goes and makes an error like that. Such a shame for them. But this really did facilitate a good fight. We had very, very good fight for the bottom points positions like 10th, 9th, 10th, that etc. between Stroll, Gasly, Bottas, Alonso and Schumacher. They were all following very closely, all trying to scrap for those last few points. It was really, really good. And then we finally see Albon pit. He has gone the entire race on his hard tyre. What incredible longevity that is. He pits with 1 lap to go, and that strategy has lifted him from last place, being disqualified in qualifying, last place on the grid, all the way up to 10th. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And of course, at the end of the race, Leclerc comes home for a very dominant win. I think he was 20 seconds ahead of Perez at the end. He comes home for a dominant win, takes the fastest lap. Perez comes home in P2 for Red Bull. And then George Russell, gets his first podium for Mercedes in, again, a surprise podium. Mercedes just keep picking up these podiums when Red Bull's car breaks. The McLarens also score great results for them with a P5 and a P6, including my driver to watch, Danny Rick, his first points of the season at his home race. What a result for him. And the real surprise comes further down the field. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but Alex Albon takes P10, a point for Williams, their first point of the season. And man, I really didn't think I'd be saying that so soon. Because of the form they've had, because of the car they've got, It is one of the worst cars on the grid. But look what he's gone and done with it. Look what their strategy's gone and done. They've gone and taken a point. They're no longer last in the championship. Aston Martin are now the only team to not score a point due to Alex Albon and that Williams. What a result for them, and I'm really happy for Alex Albon, to be honest. Overall, the reliability issues have to be the really worrying thing for Red Bull right now. I know it's very early in the season, but the gap is already becoming pretty big in the standings. I was really shocked. I had to go and look it up and confirm for myself, but Ferrari are now 39 points clear in the Constructors, ahead of Mercedes. Mercedes are second in the Constructors. Red Bull are 10 points down on Mercedes, so they're 49 points down on Ferrari. That's crazy. They're just making a lot of work for themselves later in the season. The Drivers' Championship already looks worse. Leclerc is on course on top with 71 points already. George Russell is second in the Drivers' Championship with 37 points, and then Carlos Sainz is third with 33 despite his DNF today. You have to actually go all the way down to P6 to find Max Verstappen in the championship right now. He is 46 points behind Leclerc. That is huge. Now everything can change, of course, and to be honest, if we do see a swing there, it'll be monumental. What a swing that would be. It's just all down to reliability, isn't it? Red Bull really have to get on top of these reliability issues, otherwise they're not even going to finish P2 in the championship. But next we go to Italy, and we go to Imola specifically. I'm sure there's going to be a massive showing for Ferrari fans on home soil as they lead the championship and as one of their drivers leads the championship. That's going to be fantastic to see, and I can't wait. What did you guys think of the race? Is there anyone or anything that you picked out that you found interesting? Let me know, and I'll catch you in the next one.